Hi friends, this video today, it's not for you. This video is for your parents. And the reason is very simple. Because during all those years I've been online, trying to share my experience with you, and most of all with all of you that do not know how to do and from where to start to become car designers, or to aspire this to become car designer one day. I saw that I very often receive a lot of messages from you saying that your parents, your father, your mother, or sometimes your uncles, they disapprove of this idea of pursuing car design or industrial design field career. Therefore, they push you or they force you not to go to a design school, but to take the classical, cultural, I would say, solution, which is you go to engineering or architecture university. First, you finish that because that's a secure a secure job, okay, or at least a secure major, okay, that everybody knows. And then if we have time and if you're still very eager to learn a little bit more in car design, okay, eventually you can do a master 1 year in our country or abroad to learn a little bit about car design. And so you will have both, majors and both sort of bachelors, engineering plus a master diploma. Okay, so this message is addressed to you, father, to you, mother, okay? Because I want to tell you one thing. I would like to bring also my example, my very personal example. Because when I started and I was 18 years old, to sketch a lot of times cars at home without really being too concentrated on my first year of business administration university, because yes, I already was enrolled at this economics and business university in Italy, very good one. And I was in this university simply because my father, that today is not anymore with us, neither my mother, but anyway, because my parents wanted the best for me. And therefore, because my father was a very businessman, famous, and also very successful, with a strong passion in his job, so he mounted, since he was young, from the 60s, okay, a small business that then became bigger, and he became one of the major experts in taxpayers, contribution in taxes and fiscal problems for big companies. So he was able to grow as a simple employee out of school, okay, to the point he had his own cabinet, and his own cabinet ended up several years later with a big business with 15 employees, and he was a little bit the father and the owner, what today we would say a CEO, okay, or a PDG of this company. And he was very strict, okay, very old style, okay, so very strong principles, strong ethic, great capacity in communication, in communicating, okay, and therefore he was very successful. But he was very successful because he was very passionate about economics, about numbers, taxes, percentage, rules, And sometimes he also wrote laws for an old Italian government, because he was also, he was asked, okay, to cooperate with the government at that time. And so it was very important. So, of course, I am the only male in the family. Him and my mother agreed that I would take his place one day in the business. And therefore, when I became 18 years old, after several talks with my father, even if I was always trying to sketch cars, okay, we agreed together that I had to go to university, enrolling myself to business administration and economics. And I did it. But the more I was in that school, the more unhappy I became. I became kind of isolated. And after a few months, I was increasing my will to learn about car sketching. And at that time, we did not have social networks, iPads, or iPhones to check online images. There was nothing. So I really had to make a big effort to understand how I could have made those cars or those sketches look better, like the one I saw in a magazine. So I tried watercolor because we did not have markers, not in my town. So I was going around to the art stores trying to find the tools, the right pencil, but I didn't find. So I tried to do my best on my own. And then one day I discovered on a special car motors magazine a big, beautiful reportage about Art Center College of Design, which is still today the top university for car design and transportation design, also industrial design. But let's say mainly this school is known for transportation design. And the reason is very simple. It's probably the first school on earth in early 1920s in America that decided to open a school for car designers. And believe me, when they opened, there were no other schools, not in Europe, nor in India, not in China. Well, in China, at that time, impossible. But not in Japan, not in Europe. In Europe, we had the first school, Royal College, in the 70s, or I think early 70s. And in Italy, until I arrived in Torino, there was no real serious school about car design. Because there was the old mentality that would take people within the company. I don't know, someone was working on models, but he liked to sketch. And they would try this guy for sketching. And they understood that he had some creativity. And after 2 years, this person would become a sort of a designer, technical stylist at that time. But there was no real profession. There was no real studies. It was something that was shared between the boss and somebody working in another area of those design company, like Pininfarina, Ital Design, the historical names of the car design in Europe, which are basically in Italy. And meanwhile, in America, they already had university. And they already had those universities with lots of sponsors from the automobile industry. So the automobile industry, like General Motors, Ford, Honda, Toyota, Nissan, all those names that they were in America were putting a lot of millions of dollars in those schools because those schools were creating the future designers also for them. So a more professionality. And in those schools, and also today it's like that, we have professional teachers that are designers. They are not old people that don't know what to do at home and they know a little bit of sketching and they go and become professors. They're all designers from the real world, in every sector, in every step. And those schools have a lot of internship programs to offer, which means it's the first experience that a student can have in the real world while he or she is completing school. And those schools have programs that go from 3 years plus 2 or 4 years, and those are bachelors, those are university, colleges, recognized by governments, recognized by car companies, and university that are recognized by government, local government, but also by European community, or from the American school system. So we are talking about a university that is at the same level of engineering or architecture. So let's come back to me, my story. When I told my father and my mother one Sunday afternoon, look, this is the article and the reporter, look at those pictures, I want to go into this school because that's what I really want to do, you can imagine my father how mad he was at me. He started yelling because he was somebody very basic, strict to practicality and practical things, and he said, forget it, you have university, you have to just work your ass off because you're not doing enough, and then we already talked about this, there is a business for you waiting for you, I'm not gonna give my business to a stranger. So how did I end up going to art center? Well, it was my mother that during the night, when they were in bed, my father was of course very mad, and they would talk like all parents do. I am parent, I know that this happens. And my mother said one thing very important to my father, that is still for me a good thing to learn, a learning lesson, because that's what I will do with my kids when they will become older. My mother said very clearly, look, today you are one of the most important businessmen in your field. Isn't true? Yes, it's true. And look how much success, nice family, nice people to meet, the society recognizing you an important role into this business, etc. And you did this all by yourself because you didn't have the chance when you were young, coming out of the war, Second World War, so Italy was in full poverty and reconstructions. You had the opportunity to find somebody that helped you to learn better this, to go to the right school, and you start working for this mister, okay, was a mister in my hometown, that believed in you to the point that you became a clerk, an employee for him once you finished school. And thanks to that start and your hard work, because you used to work 14 hours per day, but I did also after, and I'll explain, you were able to build your business that brought you to who you are today. Now tell me something. We have the opportunity eventually to let Luciano try. I don't want to say to do it, but to try. Why you should force him not to do it when you had the chance to do it? So this became a break. So what I'm trying to tell you now, it's not that now you all go in bed with your wife and talk the same way. No. What I'm saying is that when your son or your daughter is asking you to go to the design university, I am sure that for you it might sound strange because it's not something that everybody talks about. It's not like being an engineer or like an architect or like a doctor. Those are solid, those are solid because we have those people working since 100 years versus the design field, which is only something very young. And I'll tell you something more. Design is very competitive because we don't have thousands of design studios in the world. So this means that only strong talents can access within 6 months from their diploma or bachelor to a real design job. This is something you have to know because this is part of a responsible action, of a responsible information you have to know in order to orientate what you would like to tell your son or to your daughter. So I'm not saying that my field, our field, is just like working as an engineer where there are millions of engineers, okay? We have thousands of designers that really work on cars. But then we have lots of other designers that working in other companies. They are connected to the car design world. And there are also other people that did design school that are working in car design studios, not as designers, so not on the first lane, okay, on stage, but behind the scenes, because they have learned in school all other series of majors that give them the opportunity to work in virtual reality, for example, which it's very much used from us, or in modeling, which is fundamental, or in graphic design for automotive design, or interior color and trim, or specialized in materials. So those are just few, but there are others. So what I'm trying to say is, first of all, design is a real profession. It's very hard. It's not easy. And believe me, if your son or your daughter will go to a serious design school, they'll work a lot. They will be stressed and there will be a lot of competition. So they must be strong in their head, because it's not just going to any school. You have teachers every day in school. Those people will get a note every day, not just like in university, where you are left alone and then you take your exam 3 months later. No, 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 no. They are followed daily. And they have to respond their exams with projects. And to those projects, there is a committee sometimes that will judge the project. And then you have the companies sponsoring. So there are a lot of opportunities also for those students to show their potential, and hoping that they can catch an internship, which is paid, of course, the lowest wage because it's an internship. But to have an internship and do well in internship is like putting a foot inside the real business, because usually companies offer internship to those that they like already. For example, I had several interns in Renault, where I work, and most of them we hired. So today, some of my ex-interns are my colleagues. Then you have to know also another thing that is very important for you to make your judgments. You have to know that in one class, we have approximately 20, 25 students, okay? Which is already a good class. When they start, there will be 25. Because the school is hard and very demanding and very competitive, 5 will quit during those 4 years. And you will end up with a class of 20 people. 20 people ready to get their diploma. Of those 20 people, 5 people are really good talents and they will get the job in 6 months, sometimes in 3 months. I got it in 3 months, okay? Sometimes you have also the economic cycle that is very favorable. So there are lots of designers needed, and then there will not be only 5, but maybe 7. In one shot, they will get a job right away. Then you have other 5 or 6 of that class that are good, but not excellent. They will find a job also in car design or in design companies that do car design for the big companies. Of course, the contracts will be a little bit different in this case, because those are smaller companies. Big company, you follow, like for an engineer working at Tata, for example, you have the low wage as a beginner, and then you move up with your ladder of your career. For designers, it's the same thing. You have to know also another thing about the pay, because nobody talks about the pay. I don't like to talk about money, but when you start as a car designer, you have the same level of an engineer in a company. Same level. But you earn a little bit extra, because to a designer, by contract, it is recognized the creative element that designers have, engineers don't have. So then there is a career that's very similar, because in the big companies, the design studio has to follow a structure, an organization structure, directors, managers, lead designers, simple designers, modelers, those that work on computers, etc., that is very similar to the one that the engineering division has, because they are all under the same company. So they all share the same policy, the same philosophy, organizational philosophy of that company. When you start as a car designer or industrial designer, a smaller company, it is a little bit different. You can find a small company that will pay a lot, and you will find a smaller company that, of course, cannot pay you very much. But the most important thing for a designer or car designer coming out of the school, believe me, it's not the money. Not at the beginning. It will become important later, but not at the beginning. The most important thing is to design a car, to really design, because that's what is in our heart, in our head, since we start. The dream is there to start really being part of a car design studio and say, hey, you see that wheel cap? It's my first job. So that's exactly what I did the first time. I did a beautiful, nice Fiat wheel cup for the wheels. And I also made a technical drawing to show them that even if I was not an engineer, I knew about engineering stuff. So this is the things that you should consider, in my opinion, okay? And then there is another one, very important too, is the investment. When we go to a car design school, 99% of cases it's a private school. So it has a cost. Some schools cost less. Some others are very expensive. So if you are ultra rich, you are very rich, okay, good. Shoot for the best. If you're not and you want to do it, you have a good choice of good schools that have a fairly correct price, maybe few thousands extra between the schools, according to the countries, okay? But you have a good choice today. And I would not suggest you to go to the cheapest school, because that means that they don't have the right teachers and they don't have the right connections, which means not sponsors. They don't have sponsors from the industry. Therefore, they don't have money. You understand? So this is important for you to know. So this is an investment on your son's talent and will. It is an investment on your daughter for her future, for their future. And you have to consider that. It's not just a caprice. I want to be a car designer, you told me no. It's not that. Because no, if you see how many people would ask you to go to become car designer, maybe on this hand, 2, if we talk about society. And of those 2, only 1 will do it. Because the other one, maybe it's not even really passionate about cars. Now, if we consider big numbers, okay, it's normal that you might be the family that has a son or a daughter asking to do this type of adventure in school, which is already done with the mentality of saying, that's going to be my job. What the hell do I have to do? And who can help me to reach that dream? So of course your daughter, your son must work hard, just like I did, because that's what my father told me. You're gonna go, but when you will finish the money to live, because I already know how much you need, I will not give you money. And therefore you come back home. And then you know what is waiting for you here. And you will start again the same university of before. You gotta work hard because I'm paying for you. And you have to honor what I'm paying for you, because this is sacrifice. And then there is also human sacrifice that he went through with my mother. The fact that the only male of the family, this maybe might sound stupid to you, but it's a value coming from South Italy. The only male was going away for 6 years. So my father did not see me when I became a young man, and he could not appreciate the relationship between us when I was a young man. I was 19 years old when I left. I came back, I was 26. So you understand, all those things together, but at the same time, it paid off. I started with a simple low wage in Fiat in Italy, of course, always with that little extra. And then little by little, I start moving up. Because I like to work, it's my passion, I like to organize, so they saw that they could trust me to do things more than what I had to do. Then I start teaching, and this is an extra income. And the schools were very happy, so they kept me. And then I became chairman of an Italian design school, Istituto Europeo di Design. I did it for 8 years, I had 2 contracts there. Responsible and teacher, plus Fiat, always. So that period I was working for almost 10 years, almost 14 hours a day. And I was tired at the end of the day, of course. I also had my business trips in Poland when I was doing the Fiat 600 and my projects. But I was so happy. And my father and my mother were so proud of me. So, now, you understood. My message is to you, parents, okay? So don't say right away no. I would say go with your son, go with your daughter to the design school. Go visit. That's the first thing you should do. My mother came to California once because my father said, you have to go there and check. And you have to visit the school and talk to the managers of this school. And we did it. And she discovered a wonderful family there. Beautiful place. Everybody working like hell. She saw me coming back at home at 4 o'clock in the morning from school because I was working my models at night because there was so much to do. You cannot do this in 6 hours a day. You need almost 24 hours to do. And that's what our teacher used to say. Remember that in design, you have 24 hours a day, not 12. What was true? We were stressed, but we did beautiful things. I would never imagine to be able to do that in school. So, go visit the school. Don't say no right away. Be curious, just like your daughter or your son is curious. Go and check it out. Ask questions. I know that you have many doubts. I know that I will have many doubts when my time will come. I think in 3 years. Okay. But we are strong enough to get all the informations we need, to listen what our son and daughter is asking, put that on the table, and I think that you have the wisdom to make the perfect synthesis according to your daughter, your son, yourself, your family, the economic status, because this counts, because we are talking about private schools, okay, let's not forget it, and about the future, the possible future, okay, and then you will make the synthesis. And if it will be positive, of course, everything will be super fine. And if it's not positive, you will find the right words to explain why it is not positive. And I'm sure that your daughter and your son, they will understand. Okay? I hope I didn't hurt you talking like that. But this is a friendly message to all your parents. I thank today my parents. Without them, I wouldn't be here. Ciao.